Test.
Oh, I don't know why I have that. Hold on one second. Okay, can you hear me, Moses?
I can hear you, Lisa.
Okay. Are we live right now?
We are.
I'll start as soon as I have 6 people, not 6 people, excuse me, as soon as it's 6 o'clock. Okay. Moses, I'm just testing right now. Do you see the PowerPoint presentation?
I see the presentation. I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. So it's 6 o'clock and we're going to start our second scheduled meeting for parents, guardians, and the community regarding the reopening plan. The format of the meeting tonight is that we'll do a short presentation of the plan, and then we will open it up to questions. Moses Aponte will be reading the questions that have been submitted, and I'll be answering them. And on the second slide I'm showing now, questions can be asked throughout this presentation. So there's also there's a link on this slide, which I'm going to turn the slide in a moment, but this link is also available beneath the video on the YouTube Live. So if you want to click on that link, you'll be able to ask any questions you'd like, and we'll be answering those questions in the order that they're received. We'll start with the questions that were submitted already, and then we'll move on to the ones that are submitted this evening. So this is the link, and again, you can find the link at the bottom of the YouTube video. So I'm going to start tonight discussing how the reopening plans were developed. So back in July, the State Education Department released reopening guidance We received that guidance from the State Education Department, NYSED, on July 16th. Approximately 3 days prior to that, the Department of Health had released a separate document giving us guidance on the health and safety issues. While the State Education Department did provide more guidance on safety and health, they also provided much more guidance with regard to instructional reopening, remote hybrid plans. Those documents can all be found on our website. All of the guidance that was used to come up with these plans can be found on the website under reopening and the COVID files that are posted up there. So we had to make a plan, develop a plan, and submit the plan by July 31st. And one of the requirements of developing a plan was that we had to obtain feedback from various stakeholder groups. So we had information from a teacher distance learning reflection and reopening survey. We did a parent guardian distant learning and reflection reopening survey. We contacted and met with the school district's health and wellness committee and safety committee. Those committees are made up of district administration, staff, board members, guardians, parents, community members, students, and community agencies. We also met with the building level teams, the various building administrators and staff, met with representatives from those teams, which included students and guardians. And we also met with the union, the ETS-RPA Executive Board. And you can find all of that information about the stakeholders that were represented at the very beginning of the plan. That was something that had to be submitted as part of our plan. So when we started developing the plan, we started with some guiding principles. And of course, the first guiding principle that's guiding us is the health, safety, and well-being of students and staff will always be the top priority. Any decision that's made, health and safety of students and staff comes first. And with any action that we're going to be taking moving forward also. Second guiding principle is that educational equity remains at the forefront of thinking and decision making. And the third guiding principle is that really we're committed to regular and frequent communication with our community and staff to ensure that all stakeholders stay informed with the details of this plan. The board did approve the plan, and there will be modifications, and due to any unexpected or needed changes, I'll be talking about some of those moving forward. We're going to be distributing all the information to you with regard to this plan as it's listed in our communication section of the plan. So we will always post up on our website. We'll continue to send letters home. We will have links to the communications on our Facebook page. We've been doing robocalls, and really emails. Will be following all our regular protocol with regard to communication. So our plan was submitted on July 31st, and as of August 13th, our plan was modified. And the plan was modified on August 13th for a number of reasons, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. But modified plan is that all K-12 students will now be on remote learning until at least October 5th. And as that date gets closer, we'll be doing a reassessment. The decision to bring students back into the buildings will be based on continuous guidance from the Ulster County and New York State Departments of Health and other considerations and criteria. So many of the questions I've received is how come we changed from the hybrid to full remote? And that question can be answered, twofold. So a week ago, this past Friday, the governor did tell us we could reopen schools, and he added a couple of caveats to that. He first requested that school districts in the state have a minimum of 3 parent meetings where we would present our plans and have questions submitted so that we can alleviate any concerns and provide as much information to parents as we can. So those dates that we planned for our parent meetings, we had one yesterday at 9 o'clock. We have one this evening at 6, and we have one tomorrow, I believe, at 1 o'clock. In addition to that, he wanted us to, all the school districts, to have ongoing meetings with our staff, which we did on Monday and today. So we are in the process of meeting his requirement with regard to communication with staff and parents and community members. The other thing that he requested and actually required was that we have a detailed testing, COVID testing and contact tracing protocols included in our plans. In the original version of our plan, we had a reference to working with the Ulster County and New York State Department of Health with regard to testing and contact tracing, and he wanted a little bit more than that. And he told us that we surely could communicate and rely on the county agencies, but we were definitely going to have to provide more details so that parents and community members can see what the contact tracing and the testing protocols look like. So the superintendents in Ulster County worked together and were supported by the Ulster County Department of Health. And this past Thursday evening, we received guidance from the Department of Health, which puts together a very detailed plan with regard to testing protocols and contact tracing. And for the last couple of days, we've been working through those guidelines and making a new appendix for our plan, which I believe will be Appendix O, which will really detail testing protocols and contact tracing, which I'll talk to more at length as we go through here. So I do want to tell you that the second reason why we've kind of kicked the can down the road, so to speak, to open up school was that it appears from reviewing the testing protocols and the contact tracing that there's a good possibility, a probable possibility that we could have classes and buildings that might have to go on a full remote plan because of possible COVID infections or actual positive cases. And I'll give you some examples of that as we move forward. So if we are going to be, it's not a matter of, from what we've been advised, not a matter of if, but when school or a classroom has to close because of a suspected COVID case or a definite COVID case, we want to make sure that our remote learning plans are in place. So hence, for the month of September until October 5th, we're going to be on full remote. So what does remote look like? So I'm going to break it down K-5 and grades 6 through 12. So the first thing we do when we go to any kind of remote or hybrid program is we've built cohorts. And what cohorts are, they're groups of students. So groups of students are going to be assigned to either a cohort A or cohort B. And the way we developed those cohorts was we looked at our students, we looked at our student management system, and those students that were in a particular household were all assigned to the same cohort. And then the cohorts were evenly distributed as far as numbers of students go. So families will be in the same cohort. So either a student, actually grades K through 12, will be in a cohort A or a cohort B, and in for families, you will always have all your kids in cohort A or cohort B. The students in each cohort are going to be receiving live instruction K through 5 at different times during the day for both ELA and math. And for all grades K through 12, the plan's been modified to include 120 minutes of live instruction per day. For grades 6 through 12, that looks like a minimum of 25 minutes per period. And I just want to be clear, that is that's an estimate, and teachers have the latitude of really laying out what their instructional plans look like remotely. When not engaged in that type of live instruction, students will be assigned independent work. They could be assigned group work. There's all different types of activities that could happen even during those 120 minutes or 25 minutes per period. There's different activities that will happen. In grades 6 through 12, they will follow their, students will follow their period by period schedule. Grade 6 will follow the K through 5 schedule initially, 8:50 a.m. to 3:34 p.m. And we did that so that when we do go to a hybrid and K through 6 comes in, they're coming in on the same bus run. If, in fact, we end up on full remote, there is a very good possibility that that time might change. We're trying to be as consistent as possible, and we are intending on coming back to school on October 5th. Grades 7 through 12 are going to follow the 7:50 a.m. to 2:34 p.m. Remote learning program. When grades 7 through 12 start transitioning in and we have a second bus run, the middle school grades 6, 7, and 8 will all come in on their regular time of 7:50 a.m. to 2:34 p.m. So what does remote learning look like? For all students K through 12, remote learning will begin September 8th, that's the Tuesday after Labor Day. And teachers will be transitioning to instruction after they do their own virtual student orientation period, which will probably be a few days. What we're really focusing on here is that we get some procedures and protocols and expectations set for students and parents. Our teachers have been working really hard and attending a lot of professional development, and they're going to be working to acclimate students to the remote learning programs that we have, set expectations, ensure students are able to connect online, and most importantly, really be checking in with students for their social emotional wellness. So they will also, over the period of time in September, be conducting pre-assessments, be determining skill gaps and so forth that might have occurred or that are expected that occurred last March, April, and May and June. So the question's been raised a few times. I've spoken to many parents myself. I know the administrators have spoken to many parents also. Can my child continue with remote learning after October 5th? So the answer to that is yes, unless otherwise advised by the state education department or the governor. Parents and guardians are going to be allowed to choose a remote only option for their child. And that's just not K through 6, that'll be 7 through 12. And in the next week or so, there'll be a letter that goes out to our 7 through 12 families, as it did in K through 6, asking you to identify any student that has any type of medical need, or for whatever reason you're choosing to go for a remote only option. We are asking that if you choose remote only, you stay in remote only for the first semester. That's through January 31st, because we'll be planning accordingly. So the next part of the presentation, I want to talk a little bit about health and safety guidelines. I want to remind you all that on our website, we have the full document that goes into these guidelines in more detail. In addition to that, we also have a summary, so you don't have to go through the 40-page document that's there for parents and guardians and stakeholders that have just a summary. We've whittled that down to about, I think, 8 pages or so. So students will be required to periodically submit verifications of health screenings. You can find that in Appendix A, that asks questions such as, do you have a fever? Have you been exposed to COVID? Have you traveled to any states that are on the travel advisory list in New York? Questions like that. We would urge parents and guardians, really, do not send your children to school who are sick or exhibiting any symptoms of COVID or colds or anything like that. No, we are in a different time right now. And many of the symptoms that we'll be checking with regard to possible COVID cases mimic the flu, mimic colds, and we don't want to get people sick. So we want you to keep your children home if they're ill. And prior to entering the building, every student and staff member's temperature will be checked every day. Upon return, any staff and visitors, they'll be required also to complete a public health questionnaire and have their temperatures checked, as I mentioned earlier. Students and staff are also going to be trained on respiratory and hand hygiene. That's a requirement in the guidelines. And we will have much signage all around the campuses that will be posted inside and out as visual reminders to support the training about washing your hands, wearing your mask, and other messages. Students and staff, all students and staff are required to wear face coverings at all times unless they're medically unable to do so. And we have been asked to have mask breaks during the day. That'll be determined by the buildings and the teachers. And mask breaks can only occur when social distancing, that's your distance 6 feet apart, can be practiced. In addition to the masks, which we have purchased, we'll ask that you send your child with a mask. But if a child comes to campus or a staff member gets here, or even a visitor, and they don't have a mask will be provided. We're really following the mask guidance, and from everything we see and whatever the guidance is from the state, New York State seems to be making a real difference with the transmission of the virus. So in addition to that, other PPE, personal protective equipment that we've purchased is each desk will have a barrier. It's polycarbonate, very similar to plexiglass on each desk, so that when a student does take a mask break, in addition to the 6 feet, they will have another barrier in front of them. You should also know that in the classrooms, we've removed all the desks other than the ones that can be 6 feet socially distanced, and we're trying to minimize the best we can what's in those classrooms. So what happens if a student becomes ill or a staff member becomes ill during the day? So they'll be sent to an isolation area to be assessed by the nurse. Students will be released to a parent and guardian, and we'll be following all the guidance with regard to COVID-like illnesses that will be included in our new appendix, Appendix O. That revised plan will be posted on a late Friday or early Monday morning. If your child was exposed or potentially exposed to COVID-19, they're going to be required to isolate until at least the test results of the individual who they were exposed to comes in. And if the student was in fact exposed, the Department of Health will be intimately involved, and they will be in touch with you, and they are requiring a 14-day quarantine. In addition to that, whenever our buildings are in person, our arrival and dismissal procedures and times and so forth will be staggered to avoid large groups of students entering and exiting the building at one time. This is really important. Starting September 8th, this is not last spring. We're not thrown into this in a crisis. Our students are expected to engage in instruction, and we're really asking parents to make sure that you're supporting that. And if there are conflicts and you're having some trouble with the online synchronous learning, please contact your building. First contact your teacher and also the principals in your building so that they can work with you to try to accommodate the conflicts. We are very, very sensitive to our parents having conflicts with regard to work schedules, and we will do whatever we can to work with you to make sure that your children are educated this year. It's a huge priority for us. But I have to say this is different. The grades are going to be kept in order to move to the next grade level, to really master the material, to obtain course credit. It is really important that students are engaged in this instruction. You know, this is not, I said it last night, I said it yesterday, this full remote learning is not our choice, right? This is not the way children in public schools should be educated, especially our younger children. We all know that the best place for students are in this building in front of our teachers. And I'm going to say it over and over again. We have a great staff. They are committed and have been committed all summer long to really learning more and more and really perfecting as much as it could be perfecting this remote learning. So we are really requiring that students, you know, are engaged. We'll have staff members in the building following up with parents and guardians, and we're going to support your students' participations. But I do want to say that after the outreach, we can't have people just turning off. We're going to work with you, and we can even work with outside agencies to help you gain the access to the internet, or, you know, overcome any barriers that might be in the way. Addressing social emotional needs and mental health, huge priority for us. The student support offices, the guidance offices, psychologists, even our teacher aides and monitors are going to be in the building. They'll be providing support to students and their families. Our counselors can always provide you with referrals to outside agencies as you may need. Teachers will be provided guidance on supporting students' social emotional needs. And we have various providers that can help provide mental health in the classroom or remotely. Technology and connectivity. If your child still needs a Chromebook, I know there's some parents last year that only wanted one Chromebook, and now they know and see that they want a Chromebook for each child. We have a Chromebook for each child. We did not collect the Chromebooks. If you have a Chromebook that's not working, as soon as possible, please contact the office so that we can get it fixed or replaced. We want you to know that there's one device for every child. We're not asking anybody to share devices. Our Chromebooks are internet enabled. And if you don't have access to regular and sufficient high-speed internet, we're going to ask you to please contact your child's main office and get a report in so we're working right now with parents on resolving this issue. The town's been great. We've been leaning on them to contact Spectrum and other agencies to try to facilitate additional, Wi-Fi support in our communities. Food services. So while students are on remote instruction, like last year, breakfast and lunch will be available for either pickup or delivery. Right now, we're planning on twice. We're looking at the options of possibly changing that to 3 times a week and having multiple pickups in the community, but more information is going to be shared as we get closer to September 8th. Please contact your child's main office if you want to. If you had any glitches last year with food delivery, if you want food delivery, if you have any concerns, contact the office. We're keeping lists of people, and we're trying to facilitate this delivery and pickup the best we can. When students are in person, breakfast and lunch will be made available in the classroom. There'll be no gathering in a cafeteria. Students will be able to have breakfast and lunch in the classroom. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm going to tell you again, if you can click on this link at the bottom of the YouTube video and enter in any questions that you might have. So I'm going to now go to the questions, if you can just give me a moment. And for the questions, Moses Aponte is going to be reading the questions, and I will be doing the answering. So we have about 63 questions that we'll be reading. Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
There's a prediction of a second surge of COVID in the fall months, along with the flu. Wouldn't it be better to consider students in person in January or not reopen at all until September 2021?
So one of the things that we have heard from parents is that we know that parents feel very strongly on both sides of this. Some parents want their students back immediately. Some parents don't want to send their students back. And it's a difficult time for everyone involved. So as I said earlier, these last minute requirements that we got and, our safety procedures and protocols being in place has really kicked the can down the road. It is our intention to bring our kids back as long as we can keep them safe. We know that there's a surge, and this is a question that's been posed to the local health department. We will be working with them, and they and Governor Cuomo's office will be providing guidance with regard to when it's permissible to open. We know that students struggle with remote learning. We know that. And we know it is not the optimal way for students to receive instruction. And that is why we want to make sure that we have the option of having students come in and that it's done safely.
At what point do we take into consideration that this is the new norm and we just need to move on with our lives? Many parents have full-time jobs Monday through Friday. Daycare centers cannot be expected to provide education for our children as well. As an essential healthcare employee, one who has been working nonstop with COVID patients, I felt very comfortable and confident with the plan that you proposed with sending the kids back to school. Those of us who are willing to send our children back to school with the best interests of our children in mind should not have that taken away. There will always be people who will not want their children to come back. They should just distance learn if they choose. However, COVID hospitalizations have significantly decreased and we should be moving forward.
So we agree that students should come back into the building. We have the opportunity now for parents to have the option to keep their remote, to keep their children home and do full remote learning. And we are working diligently to be sure that we're able to bring our students back on October 5th. So I want to be clear that this is not, there's no intention here for us to, to just keep kicking this can down the road. We have every intention of opening up on October 5th with our hybrid model. We think we know we have a good plan. And, I also want to say that our staff will be in the building from day one, and they'll be able to provide support from the building to our parents. And we're going to get our students back as soon as we can. And as soon as it's safe, and we have followed all the protocols with regard to testing and with regard to contact tracing.
What if parents can't always be online with their children at specific times? Children should not be penalized for their parents having jobs.
Students will not be penalized if there are conflicts with their online schedule. I'm really asking if you have conflicts with the schedule, if you could please contact the office, even your teacher when we're back in, if conflicts come up, and we will work with you to work through any conflicts and barriers that your children might have.
What about parents that still have to work during the day? Will elementary students be able to log on after parents get home from work to complete the assignments?
Yes, we're working on various options so that everyone has access to instruction. And as I said earlier, and this is a question, we're going to read every question the way it's written. And my understanding is, there's some questions that just came in. I'm going to read them the way they're written. And I would just ask, and I have to say this, I would just ask that in these forums, whenever they are, and when we move forward together, and this community has always moved forward together, that we be respectful. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. These are very difficult times for parents and staff members, and most especially our kids. And I think that we just need to have respectful conversations here. So I will say, I just saw a few of the questions towards the end, and I'll read them and I'll answer them. But I just want you to all know that we surely know and understand that people have to work, and we know the significant, stress that this whole pandemic has put on families. And we are trying to take health and safety first and really move forward with the program. And I have to tell you, we've been up and down, round and round about options here. And what I do know is that not everyone is going to be happy no matter what we do. And we just need to try to do the best we can with what we have, which we will. We understand how accountable we are to our families and our students. And we're going to be moving forward and working with parents individually to make sure that every child in this district has access to instruction and education this year.
What is the testing protocol for teachers and ancillary staff?
So the district cannot mandate testing, nor, it's not in the protocols, nor do we want to. We are not doctors. We are not medical providers. Hence, really relying on the Department of Health and the New York State Department of Health and the Ulster County Department of Health. There are some very specific guidelines that are out there so that everyone remains safe. We are not mandating that anybody get testing. We're just going to suggest if someone gets sick here, that they go to their primary physician or go to a doctor's office and they discuss their medical issues and what their symptoms are with their doctors. And at that point, we will follow the protocol that the state has put in place for us and the county has put in place for us. If somebody wants to get tested, we have a list that's been provided to us from the Ulster County Health Department for places that people can get tested for, recommendations and referrals. Anyone who's been exposed to the virus, we would ask that they contact us and tell us that. And when they'll be requested for a 14-day quarantine, and the health department of Ulster County will be working with families when that is happening. We're reviewing and updating our procedures and protocols. They will be included in Appendix O in our plan.
What is the procedure once a person, whether a staff member or student, tests positive for COVID-19?
So anyone who's positive for COVID-19 will not come to school, obviously, and will be quarantined and isolated under the direction of the the Ulster County Department of Health. We do not have any, say in that. That's going to be the health department. And anyone who has had direct or proximate contact will be expected to isolate or quarantine. So the new guidelines define what direct contact is. So if you've had contact less than 6 feet away for a continuous period of 10 minutes or more, that's considered direct contact. It used to be 15 minutes. The revised protocols say 10 minutes now. Proximate contact is when an individual has had a brief close encounter or an extended encounter, even in distances greater than 6 feet. So in the plan, you'll read about direct contact and proximate contact.
How does this decision affect students that go to other schools for special education and the therapies associated with this? Will those students also need to remain at home? If not, will busing be provided by the district?
So students that attend other schools for special ed programs or VOTEC programs or receive any type of related services, they are going to be following the reopening plans of those schools. And so if they're in session and in-person learning, they will follow that and we will provide transportation.
How will the district be accommodating parents that work during the school day? I'm going to have a kindergarten student and a 10th grade student. I'm mainly worried about my kindergarten student not being able to be logged in for live teaching as I work until 2:15 p.m. Monday through Friday.
So as I said earlier, we are going to be working with families to the best of our abilities to ensure that access to lessons and learning materials are made available to every student. If you have a conflict now, if you could provide, call your building up and tell them what the conflict is, so we have a little bit of a lead time to put some accommodations in place ahead of time. And I know a lot of parents have called already, and it really does help us having that information as we continue to plan for the beginning of school.
My child resides with someone in a high-risk category. What medical documentation is required to support full remote instruction?
If you can get a note from the doctor, the pediatrician, or the person who's at high risk, just explain what the circumstances are, that would suffice.
Does the district have an idea as to what it would take, such as a vaccine and or change in CDC guidelines, to bring back students in grades 7 through 12 this school year? Or should parents plan on these students being remote for the entire 2020-2021 school year?
So our plan is to eventually phase in 7-12. We want our kids back. We're hoping now that we can transition our elementary students in, K through 6 students in for the month of October, and then maybe the end of October and November sometime start transitioning 7-12. And I just want to tell everyone that's watching that 7-12 transition has really been most challenging. And I'll give you an example. For, let's say, a 9th grade student who has a full schedule, first period might be English, and they might be in a class with 20, let's say 20 students, or actually, let's say 10 students now, socially distanced. So half the students would be remoting, half the students would be in. When the bell rings at the end of first period, of those 10 students, many of those students are not going to go to the same class. Someone might go to math, someone might go to science, someone might go to social studies, and there's going to be a lot of movement in the building. Besides that, they're going to go into a classroom where there's possibly been another class. So we are trying to really build a schedule where we can try to maintain as many students as we can in particular classrooms, which is a challenge, and make sure that we have really good cleaning protocols so that if students do go into a classroom that was utilized, that those desks can be cleaned and sanitized. So the 7-12 movement in the buildings has been a challenge, and we're working, we're just finalizing plans to get 7-12 in. So 7-12 is going to come in. I will tell you that we are going to take our cue when we can be in from the governor and the health department. They will tell us if school has to be closed because of infection rates. That's not a decision that we'll make on our own data. That data will come from the state. Go ahead, Mo.
How will volunteer hours be accounted for regarding students working towards graduation?
So that's a topic that we're looking at right now. We're exploring alternative community service options for our high school students, so that maybe community service can be done virtually. I'm going to have discussions with the buildings. We'll make some recommendations to probably or possibly decrease the number of hours that are required. But we're looking to see what other options are available.
If students are not in school during the winter months, will the school have 2-hour delays, or will teachers be providing instruction on a regular schedule? And will those teachers be reporting to school on those days?
So teachers are going to be reporting to school every day. If there's a 2-hour delay or a 3-hour delay, they'll be reporting to school on those delayed schedules. If we're closed, they will not be reporting to school. And if we are closed, we are looking at the possibility or option of providing remote instruction during snow days. So that is something that we're looking at.
Is the school still having to pay rolling fee for buses that are not being used to transport students?
As we did last year, the transportation contracts we have will be modified to reflect the decrease in service. And we did that last spring also.
After students in grades 7 through 12 receive their initial live instruction, will they then be able to go outside to be active, or will they have to complete an online assignment?
So the answer to this question is going to vary from day to day, depending upon what the teacher assignments are. However, as students follow the 8-hour period, the 8-hour bell, schedule from class to class, there are some natural breaks that are built into those schedules, maybe a study hall, maybe lunch, and so forth.
Will food delivery be provided before or after school, since students in grades 7 through 12 will need to be remotely in class, and if parents are working, no one will be available to meet the bus?
So that's a great question. That's something that we're really trying to hone in on. What is the perfect time to deliver meals? We found last year when we did it, if it was too early, we didn't have a lot of people getting the meals. We modified the time. We want to hear feedback from parents about what a good time is, and maybe have various pickups and deliveries staggered on the times. We want to get the meals in the hands of our kids. So any information that parents might have that would work would definitely help us in building a schedule. But we are planning, we're planning on delivering at least twice a week. I think we delivered, at first it was early and then we moved it to 10, 11 o'clock, but we will work with you to make sure that meals are received by families.
For students in K through 6, will all work to start the school year be done virtually, or will paper packets be made available to families?
So we're not going to be using the same paper packets we did last year. The state has required live synchronous instruction. However, there will be materials and supplies in other formats that are provided either through pickup or delivery to our families. Could be textbooks, workbooks, learning packets. There will be supporting materials and documentation that will be provided, but there will be live instruction whenever we're on full remote learning.
Will parents still receive automated attendance calls if their child has not logged on virtually, since those parents having to be at work will be unable to monitor their child's attendance?
So we are planning on using our automated attendance calls. If you call ahead of time, we can disable that if we have a plan in place for when and how your child's going to access the learning materials. So I would say that communication is really key from parents to our offices and to the teachers. And we'll be, compiling a plan and a program for those kids. So if we know that at a particular time children cannot be online, we will definitely not send you a robocall.
How will teacher aides and assistants be assigned if students are not in school physically? Is the district considering laying them off, cafeteria monitors, or other staff if students are not in the building?
So there has been consideration for layoffs. As we start up in September, all staff, including cafeteria monitors, teacher aides, teacher assistants, everyone will be in the building to start for the month. That decision could be revisited and will be revisited if remote learning continues beyond that. Aides, monitors, and our cleaners are going to be assigned tasks that align to the work that they do. We'll be providing some professional development opportunities for them, and they will be supporting the teachers and supporting the instructional program that we have. And if we see that we're going remote, there'll be additional conversations on this topic.
How does the steps being taken by the school due to COVID-19 impact the capital project that was passed last year?
So the capital project planning is proceeding. It has proceeded during the summer, and we're working on getting plans in place. And we will provide updates via communication on our website as we did during the last capital project.
Why were grades 7 through 12 originally considered to be remotely learning, but the younger ones weren't? Little kids won't keep masks on even with breaks.
So we are very cognizant of the possibility of our younger students and the struggles they'll have with masks. Hence, we've tried to get more PPE, personal protective equipment, in the classrooms, and we will be scheduling breaks. We also will be encouraging all of our teachers to have breaks outside and do lessons outside whenever possible. With regard to 7-12, I know that it's almost counterintuitive to think that they will keep their masks on and they have more of an understanding. But the guidance from the State Education Department in that 145-page document does really encourage school districts to bring the younger students in so that they're in front of their teachers. It is a real challenge to teach reading and writing and math facts to younger students who don't have the technology skills online, hence the focus on bringing them in first.
What will instruction be like for high schoolers? Will teachers be required to teach live instead of just loading assignments and videos?
Yes, there's a requirement by the guidance that there's live synchronous instruction to students. There's a 25-minute minimum, and I would tell you that we're going to be flexible with that. Our teachers have been working really hard all spring and over the summer to provide lessons and materials and modifying the curriculum for remote learning, but there will be live instruction and other activities for the students to partake in.
Does the school plan on doing a screening for kindergarten prior to school opening?
So we will be doing the screening during that first week, September 8th, of orientation. During those periods of time, we have been looking at different ways to have those conversations, but that will definitely take place the first week. The kindergarten kids come back that week of the 8th.
Are the kids going to be wearing their masks for the entire day, or will they be taking it off at their desks once they are 6 feet away from each other?
So students are really expected to be wearing masks throughout the day. The teachers will be working with the students to have mask breaks. And as I said earlier, we did buy some polycarbonate barriers that'll be on every desk to, encourage to just put another layer of safety, in the classrooms. But they definitely will be able to have mask breaks.
Regarding Chromebooks, my 2 oldest children's Chromebooks no longer work. Will there be a time when the district will be replacing, distributing more ahead of school?
Yes. I would really suggest that you and really contact the offices right now. We have staff here and we can replace them and fix them. And we want to make sure that you start out the school year with the Chromebooks that you need for your kids.
Scientists recommend limiting blue light to less than 2 hours a day. Is the school going to have computer alternatives for students? Blue lights from computers cause disruption to sleep, irritability, and neurological disruptions.
So this is a great question, and I actually am going to be sending this to our district superintendent. There's been no guidance on this at all, and not all work will be done, on a Chromebook or on a computer. And we'll be providing further clarification as we get some further information on this.
Remote learning is a problem for full-time working parents. Is the school prepared for a change in schedule? For example, my children have to travel to another county for me to bring them to a babysitter in order for me to go to work. My 6th grader will not be available to log in at 7:50 a.m.
Yes, we are going to, as I said earlier, we're going to be working with families that have conflicts with scheduling and when live synchronous instruction happens. And we're really committed to having in-person learning begin October 5th. But please, if you have specific concerns and specific times, the sooner the better to contact the office and share that information with them so that we can plan accordingly.
Is the school prepared to provide tutors for struggling children?
So we know that many of our students are struggling based on what happened last spring. I think that it's really important if you know specifically, some areas that your kids are struggling with, to let the teacher know at the beginning. We are looking to try to develop some after-school remote opportunities for students we have a couple of programs right now through a couple of grants that we've received through the Bright Futures Initiative and also an Advantage After School grant where we might be able to, we're planning on providing some additional support, academic support for students after school. More information will be following from that.
Does the school have plans for parents who do not have childcare that can assist their children with being online? What is the school doing to ensure each child is getting an education?
So we are exploring with the county and various community-based organizations the opportunities that could be provided for childcare. During the spring, there was a request by the governor's office that we provide childcare, right on site, and there were no students here. We're struggling with if we have an on-site childcare program here, let's say in the cafeteria or the gym, and then we bring students back, we won't be able to socially distance everyone in the buildings. So we are working with the YMCA and other agencies to see if there are any other opportunities that can be created. And as I said earlier, we know that parents and families are struggling with this, and we are going to do whatever we can to keep students engaged, and we're committed to that.
Kindergarten and elementary students need hands-on learning, especially kindergarten. What is the school doing to ensure these kids are getting a quality education?
So we are all looking forward to our students returning to the building, and we surely agree that elementary age students should definitely be here for hands-on learning. Teachers have opportunities to utilize other interactive online programs and activities to make sure students are engaged and that they'll be able to encourage families to work together in hands-on learning experiences. So that will be forthcoming from your building and your teachers.
I'm a parent whose shift is constantly shifting and not home during the day and cannot afford to pay someone to watch and educate their children because the school is closed. Is the school willing to reopen full-time for parents who need it? The school district is not thinking of the working parent or those that cannot be there to help their children learn.
So I can tell you that we are thinking of our working parents. It's very important for us. We are very aware that all of our parents work in this community and that there's struggles with daycare even outside of the pandemic. So, and we know that this pandemic has created terrible hardships in not only childcare, but other ways. And we are going to continue to work to make individual accommodations for our families. I think our teachers worked really hard on that last year and did a great job, the best we can under the circumstances we had. It's never perfect, and we're all committed to getting better at that. We are looking at the possibility, and we have been with the number, depending upon how many of our students do go fully remote, if maybe some of our students can come fully in person. One of the challenges with that is that if a student is fully remote and a parent decides, let's say February 1st, to send their children back because things are going good, we couldn't guarantee necessarily that they would all have the same teachers. We're trying to work through various scenarios on how we can get that to work. And I know that, especially in the elementary school, Mrs. I and Mrs. Matarazza are very cognizant of those concerns, and we are trying to see if we can develop any solutions for those parents that want their kids in more than, the first week or week A.
The school gave parents the choice to keep their kids remote. Shouldn't the parents who want their kids to go to school have the same option?
As I just said, we are working to make sure we can facilitate that option before we put it out there. So we're not saying no to that. We're really studying that right now.
My child will be starting kindergarten this fall and has not attended a pre-K or Head Start program previously. My question is for those incoming students with no previous education, how are they supposed to learn to read and write remotely?
So our kindergarten teachers have done a great job during the last 3 months engaging students. They will be providing pre-assessments to the students, hopefully when they're in, but also online. They have a multitude of different activities they can do. One of the things that we have is the reading literacy program. We have Super Kids does have an online interactive approach. And I know that we've been really honing in on that program and doing a good job in mastering what kids can do online. And, remote learning is definitely not optimal, but we will be providing instruction and activities that support literacy, reading and writing, and math.
My son has a possible ADHD diagnosis from his pediatrician, but cannot be properly screened without input from the school and his teachers. How is he supposed to get help or proper screening without in-person learning?
So I would really suggest that this parent contact the 504 committee, contact my office, and I can get you a referral. We are doing screenings and we are doing testing, some remote, some in person, individually testing with social distancing. So please, whoever wrote this, contact my office, which is 647-0100. And we will try to make sure that, we will make sure that you get referred to either the 504 committees or our committees on special education.
How do I go about signing my son up for online learning? He's in grade 12.
So currently all students grades 7 through 12 are online learning, and they will be assigned to a cohort and be given a schedule. There will be a letter that's sent home in the next week or two, which affords 7-12 students the same opportunity that K-6 students had with regard to full remote for the year, and really just providing us with information and a form that you can fill out and send to us, so that will be sent out. But right now 7-12 students are on remote, so there's no need to sign anybody up.
What happens with children that have elevated temperatures but are under 100 degrees?
So, as parents, your child best. If their temperatures seem elevated to you beyond their norm and they look sick and they feel sick and you think they're sick, keep them home. Students are only going to be sent home if their temperatures are above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, unless they're exhibiting other COVID symptoms. So if somebody comes in, if you have 100-degree temperature, you're going home. If you have other COVID symptoms, you'll be evaluated. But please, we don't want staff or students here sick. We don't want to have to, close our buildings or close a class down. If children are sick or staff is sick, they should stay home.
If a child is distance learning and can't log online but gets the work done, will they be marked absent?
They will not be marked absent. They'll be working with their teachers to make sure that the activities and the expectations are met for all assignments.
Will children be able to attend school if they have a cough, runny nose, and or other cold-like symptoms minus a fever?
So we would highly suggest that those students stay home.
How are the kids' supplies going to be stored the weeks the children are not there? Will they be put into storage bins?
Yes, lockers will not be used when we get 7 through 12 and also for 6th grade. Grades K through 6 are going to be provided storage bins or large bags to store and secure supplies and materials of the students who are not in person for that particular week.
I would like to know, instead of making the elementary children go in, why don't they have the middle school and high school go in for the hybrid learning, since they are older and can understand the terms of leaving their masks on, opposed to the smaller children that will take them off? How was that decision made? Shouldn't it be for all kids to do remote learning?
So right now, all of our students are remote learning through October 2nd. We're hoping, again, to resume in person on October 5th. When we do resume, the guidance documents from the State Education Department put special emphasis on bringing students in K through 6. They have more challenges with technology and learning online than some of our 7 through 12. It's not to say it's perfect in grades 7 through 12 either, but the guidance from the State Education Department was pretty clear to focus on the earlier grade levels.
I'm hearing that the kids will have to be online at different times during the day. For parents that work, we may not be able to ensure our kids are live streaming throughout the day. How is the school going to work with these families? In the spring, it was different. Most of us were home. Now we're working, and even the daycare cannot commit to having all of their school-aged kids on live streams throughout the day. This is a significant issue.
So we're hearing you, and I know there's been many questions along, this topic, and the buildings, especially K6, are working together, with regard to conflicts, and we are going to be trying to customize and accommodate whoever we can. It's really important that if you see a conflict, that you share it so that we can figure out ways to overcome any obstacles that our kids have.
How is the school ensuring student families are in the same cohort group, and how is the school sorting this?
So this has been a little bit of a challenge. We have a really great student management system, and students are going to be placed into their cohorts based on who resides in particular households, and based on the management and the data information that's provided from parents to the schools annually. We have our student management system has been able to run household reports and build cohorts. So I know that the principals and the guidance offices have been working really diligently together to make sure that we have families and cohorts. I would expect there are going to be some glitches, and we will work through them.
Will middle school work be due daily or weekly?
This will be determined by the individual teacher. You should have those conversations with the teacher that your children are assigned to.
How can we modify the daily schedules for children with learning disabilities?
So modifications for students with learning disabilities are a serious concern of ours. We would really, any concerns you have, I'm going to ask you to call the director and the Office of the Special Education. Dr. Fogarty is out of that office. The psychologists in each building, they can definitely help you with modifications and other supports that can be included in a student's IEP.
Are you trying to make a decision on October 2nd to reopen school for elementary or all grades?
Right now, our current plan is to open school grades K through 6 to return in person on October 5th based on their assigned cohort. Remember, 1 week in, 1 week out. We'll continue to monitor our anticipated return with any additional information that comes from the state and the county. We will definitely communicate any changes if necessary, and we will be in communication with you throughout the month of September. And it is our intention to transition 7-12 students into the building as soon as possible after our K6 are in.
Are you taking temps before kids get on the bus?
No, temperatures are going to be taken upon arrival to school. We've clarified some of that guidance, with our transportation plan.
Is all staff getting a COVID test before school starts?
So we are not permitted to mandate the testing of staff. We can provide information on where staff can get tested. And, testing's we cannot mandate it. But if someone gets tested today and tests negative, it doesn't mean that a week from today, they might not have had contact with someone who's positive. So that's why it's so important for people really to practice the social distancing and wearing masks and so forth. But we will not mandate testing of our students or our staff.
Orange Ulster's special ed program starts September rather than October. Will you provide transportation for the students?
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, students who are out of district programs that will be in person, they will follow those reopening plans of the schools that they're in.
I have a problem with the school having access to a camera inside of my home. I feel it's an invasion of my privacy. I will not allow my child to be seen on a camera. What is an alternative option for my child?
So as in the spring, it is an expectation during live instruction. The cameras that we have in the building are really going to be focused on the teacher. I understand the concerns that you might have individually about your child being on a camera. I would definitely contact your building's office and speak to your principal, and we will see what we can do to, accommodate you. There are ways that you can have a designated area in your home where participated in live instruction may not be, intrusive, and that could provide your student free from any distraction, but we will work with you, and so will our tech department.
After October 5th, would we be able to keep our children at home to continue remote education?
Yes, parents have the option to participate in remote instruction. We would ask that you fill out the form as long as it's permitted by the state education department. So Moses, I'm going to take the next question because I want to be clear about this. So the next question starts with, why are all of the Sullivan and Orange County school districts opening in person? So I can't speak for the Sullivan County and Orange County school districts. I know that many of the Ulster County school districts and Dutchess County school districts have announced that they're going in person. I don't have the time to call those superintendents and ask them, but they might really, I would watch their websites. Maybe they'll post something up there. So I'm not going to use profanity, and this is when I really want to go back to respect. And I might be baffling all of you with whatever you think I'm baffling you with. I'm not going to use profanity here. And this person's asking what's the real deal with the teachers union, and that's the question. So without using any of the profanity that's in that, which is in that post, I want to say this. I'm not going to allow anybody in this building to speak to any of our kids or any of our staff or any of each other like this. And while I understand there's frustration about, in our country and locally about unions and staff and teachers and administrators and so forth, I say it and I'll say it again. We take what we do very seriously here, with our students. And in our country and in our state, there's labor laws that we have to follow, and we will continue to do that. Our priority here is to reopen schools and follow the health and safety protocols as noted in the guidance. And, I'm going to leave it at that. And, everyone's working really hard here. Everybody's working really hard here to provide the best opportunities for our kids. The next question is, I have lots of, quote, modifications. So my question is the modification of my school taxes. So, I understand the frustration here. I understand how we fund schools in the state, and I understand the onus that's on the property taxes of the people that own property. And I understand the frustration and the perception of some that, people here are not working and people here are not going to be working. Our staff is going to be coming into the building. This wasn't a choice of ours to keep everybody home for March, April, May, and June. We were muddling away in a pandemic, and we did the best we can with guidance from the state, and we're in a new phase now. And I understand people are frustrated with their taxes across this country, and we try, and this Board of Education goes line by line through their budgets to try to modify and find cost savings, and we're doing that all the time. I think one of the frustrations I mentioned at the board meeting last night is that, we are underfunded with regard to state aid. And if we had the state aid that is due to this school district and the taxpayers in this district, we would be able to modify our property taxes. So right now, there's no plan for a tax refund. If we have a surplus at the end of this school year, we will definitely look at what's given back. The school district's been operating on an operational deficit for the last couple of years and using whatever reserves and fund balance we have, and we're committed to staying fiscally sound and also balancing the needs of our taxpayers. And I apologize. I get it, and I get the frustration. Everyone's frustrated, but I can tell you that more than the majority of our teachers, our staff here is working really hard for the kids of this community. And we did receive a lot of positive feedback from a lot of parents and a lot of community members about, what we're doing. And I'm not, I see it every day, and it shouldn't be just reflected in a test score. When people come in here and see what we do every day and where we get our students to be at the end of their senior year, even if it takes them a year or two more, our kids might not go in 4 years, but they go in 5 years. And I'm not making excuses. We're always trying to get better here. And everyone in this building is committed to doing what's right. We do have constraints, there are laws, there are unions, there are all of that. But, I'm committed to bringing people together and finding solutions for our kids and our community. The next question is, will there be a school tax refund if the school continues to stay remote and less services are needed? Or since my wife had to quit her job to teach our son, will she be receiving a teacher's paycheck? So I think I answered that question before. And I know that parents and guardians are in a very difficult situation because of this pandemic and the economics of the state. And, we're sensitive to that, and we're going to do whatever we can to support our families. So the question is, do I know how many active cases are in the town of Warsing? This person thinks we should know at all times and should be updating the families daily. Will you do this? I can definitely put a link on our website with the Ulster County Department of Health's dashboard. I think that's a great idea, and we can do that, and we will do that. Moses, we can do a link to our website and maybe even to our Facebook page so people know, how many cases there are in Ulster County. And I guess that right now there are 2 in the town. So we will make sure we get that link posted up. How are we handling attendance? There's no way to find out if it's a cold or COVID. Attendance is taken daily. If your child's ill, they shouldn't attend school. If we would ask you to work with your medical provider about, the illness and what their recommendations are. Not my tax-paying dollars paid for the masks, so my child will get a new one every day. That's fine. We have masks here. The county has been providing, will be providing a large supply of masks. We just know that some kids and some adults are more comfortable wearing face coverings that definitely that come from their own home. But if you want us to provide the masks, we will absolutely do that. Kids are required to wear masks when sitting. Students are expected to wear masks at all times. Students will be provided mask breaks when social distancing can be practiced. I know that our teachers and our staff are very cognizant of the struggle of the masks. The guidance in the Department of Health documents and the State Education Department are really very clear about that. So I would, refer you to that. But we will be working on mask breaks. So barriers and masks, will they also get 15 minutes a day in the prison yard as well? So, we didn't make these protocols up. I just want to say that we're following the protocols in the state that the State Education Department and the Department of Health have provided. And I do have to say again, I would really urge people to be respectful here. I know it's easy to type things into the questions. Everyone has their own opinions and their freedom of speech. You know, we're modeling for our kids, we're modeling for each other, and I think it's really important that we stay respectful. So the next question has to do with their child not being tested. There's some profanity in it. There is definitely, we are not mandating testing. We would suggest that you work with your medical providers. Since there's only one active case in the town of Warsing, what is exactly the number you need to open? We're not focused on the number. Those numbers and when we can open with regard to active COVID cases will come directly from the governor's office and the county executive's office. The next comment is the teachers union. That's a conflict. If you have a specific question regarding the teachers union, or you'd like to discuss that more at length with me, I would really appreciate it if you can call me on the phone and can have a discussion with you. When will teacher assignments and equipment dispersal dates be released to the public? Assignments are, we're hoping to have that out at the very latest early Monday or Tuesday of next week, but I know they're getting ready to prepare to send that information out to you. Okay, I'm really conflicted as to whether or not I should read all these comments. I get the trend here about the teachers union and the teachers. I think that we are, I hear what people are saying, and any specific concerns you have with regard to teachers and the unions, you please contact me directly. Right now, the question is, how can I get a tax credit to pull my child and put them in private school? Parents have the ability to, there's no tax credits, there's no voucher systems in our state, so there's not a way to do that. In what way will the Department of Health be involved? And will the students be quarantined at home if exposed to the virus? The health department is going to be assisting the district in contact tracing, and the district's mandated to report suspected cases of COVID to the health department. We will be working with them. They will be working with you. Students who've been exposed or potentially exposed to the virus are, going to be required to quarantine. If the Ulster County Health Department has that information, they'll be in touch with you. If you think your child or someone in your family's been exposed and the health department's not involved, we would just ask you to isolate and definitely, not put anybody else at risk. If you have questions about that, you can always contact the school. So why are we having this meeting if you've already made the final decision? Well, we're having this meeting to get more questions and see if any other information can be included in the plan. So we're having the meeting to continue to get input. Why was this not posted earlier on the 19th? My child's going into high school. Are they going to be in class or at home? So we posted our plan on our website on July 31st. And we are going to be posting an updated plan this Friday. We had one meeting yesterday, a meeting today. We have another meeting tomorrow. And our high school students will be on fully remote until further notice. And parents will be getting schedules and additional information in the mail. What would the schedule look like for remote learning K-6? Will it be every day or following the AV hybrid? Remote learning, there'll be schedules that go out for remote learning. All the students will be remote, so it won't be the hybrid. It'll be that all the students are remoting in with their teacher on any given day, on every day. Will the school be handing out Chromebooks to students? If you need a Chromebook, or if the Chromebook that you got last year is not working, we will be replacing it and offering Chromebooks to anybody that needs them. Will OT services continue the same as last March? OT services will continue to be provided to the extent practicable. I know we're providing some of those services online, and as soon as we can ensure that those services can be done socially distanced and everyone's safe, we will continue to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Stop blaming last minute and stop kicking your can down the road. Get on the phone and call a neighboring county and ask why they did it. Well, trust me, we've been on the phone with with other neighboring counties. I cannot speak for that. If you'd like to give I get the Sullivan County. I don't know what they're doing. Give me my tax money back. Why is it okay that your staff goes to Walmart and ShopRite and vacations? I get the frustration everybody's feeling. Every child gets a Chromebook given by the school. Does the child have to use the Chromebook, or can they use a personal device? So children can use their personal devices. Many of our parents have opted in for that, but we do have Chromebooks. So yes, you do have the right to your opinion. When will we be finding out what supplies we will need at home? Also, will we be required to get physical textbooks from the school? We are getting supply lists for elementary posted on the district webpage and Facebook. I can tell you too that we will be having pickup of materials. Hold on a minute, I just lost my place. We will be having pickup for materials and delivery for materials. What is it? 74? Yeah. Okay. So that information will be coming out with the assignments and the schedules. So the next question says, do you know how pathetic this is that there are 40 people watching this now, and how pathetic it is that I'm one of them? Well, I appreciate that you are watching this, and we had participants yesterday, and we're trying to do whatever we can to get this information out. How will a child's IEP 504 be implemented or maintained through remote learning? The special ed department is going to be working with families. IEPs and 504 accommodations are going to be provided to the extent practicable. Is the school going to hand out Chromebooks? Yes, we will. Please contact your office, get us your name. If your son's Chromebook did not have the programs on it, we have time to get that done. Please contact your office. There's a question about my son having a learning disability. How is the school going to help him during remote learning? If he has an IEP, we'll be implementing the IEP. The teachers in the classrooms will be implementing the IEP. And if there are accommodations needed, we will be providing them to the extent practicable. So this is interesting. When you were online in Walmart for 10 minutes and I had COVID, I was behind you. How do we know you're not infected? I think you all should be tested every day. Okay, so we can't mandate testing. The next comment says, thank you for everything. For the students who ride the bus, will their temperatures be checked before getting on the bus? We were going to try to take temperatures before kids got on the bus, but some of the guidance was contradictory for that. So we will look at that again, but temperatures are going to be taken upon arrival to school. How will meals be handled in the classroom? Students in the elementary building and in grade 6 will be eating breakfast and lunch in the classroom. Recess will be offered during the day. There will be cafeteria monitors that are in the classrooms with the students supervised. There is 1 active case, 133 confirmed, 127 recovered, and 5 fatalities. These are the numbers in the town of Awarsing. I just got confirmation from a town board member How are you justifying keeping the entire school closed with these statistics? Are you in charge, or is it the teachers union in charge? I would really like to know. So I'm the superintendent. There's a board of education. I am the leader of this district. I work collaboratively with all of the stakeholders in this community. The decision to open school is not just based on the number of cases, but also on the protocols that have to be in place. And we will be opening school hopefully on October 5th. That is the plan. I'm worried about my 7th grade child being in front of a computer for 7 hours a day. In the spring, my child was easily able to access his classes and do all his work, taking breaks for his eyes. Being in front of a computer all day, 5 days a week, is not physically good for their eyes. How does this work for them? And also, how does this work for kids that cannot focus in front of the computer? So Mr. Spinelli would like to answer this question, and I'm going to defer to him.
Thanks, Mrs. Wiles. With regard to the middle school schedule, and I know this is also true for the high school schedule, students are going to be following their regular 8-period day while they're home and while they're here at school when that does occur. So within that 8-period day, there are naturally occurring breaks, and there's an approximation of about 25 minutes of live instruction per period for every academic period. That would not include academic workshops, which we used to know as study halls, or lunch and recess times. So it is not the expectation that students will have to sit in front of the computer for their entire day while they are at home. And I have been having ongoing conversations with teachers as they call me, to try to figure out ways where we can build some of that in where there aren't naturally occurring breaks. But if there are any further issues with that, please give us a call. We're always willing to work with people individually.
Okay, what number am I on?
You are on number 784.
84. Question 84. Twice a week. Are you kidding me? We are paying our tax-paying dollars at work. There's a question about unemployment with some profanity, some more profanity, that there are 5 or 6 teachers that have told this taxpayer that they haven't even started to get ready. I find that very hard to believe. And I'll never win for public office. Okay. Not all work on the computer. So are you coming to my house for PE? So physical education will be provided, and activities will be provided, and I think our that you will get some guidance from that from the buildings. Would it be possible to distribute food on Sunday evening for the 3 days and Wednesday for the other 2 days so parents have meals for all available school days? We are looking at modifying our schedule for meal delivery, and we'll be providing some information out. So the next comment is someone thinks I need a new can because they think I'm lying to them. So if there's a question, please submit a question. This is a comment about the teacher union owning me. The next question is, my son helps with Boy Scout recycled programs on Saturdays. Can that be used for his high school community service? Absolutely. I think that is great. We are really looking to find more community service activities for our students to participate in. So this is about being overpaid, and how about I donate some money for childcare. So there are agencies that we're working with regard to childcare. Call another district. We will definitely, we have been in touch with other districts. Remote tests, ADHD, are you out of my mind? No, actually there are I do have a clue of what I'm doing, and there's some very good practices in the educational community. When parents don't want to bring their children in for testing, that it can be done remotely. And we have been doing in-person testing. At this point in time, should I contact the elementary school regarding a Chromebook for a kindergarten student? Absolutely. We should have your name, and we're just hoping that we have your name so we can get them out as soon as possible. This next question I'm going to read. Why are you not reading my questions, Lisa? I'm trying to read all the questions that don't have profanity in them. I want my tax money back. Send my kids to private school. Okay. Hey, Moses, skipping the tax questions. I want a tax credit. What is Lisa going to do? So I get the whole concept and the whole thread here about taxes. I understand that. And, we are going to continue to look to get additional state aid and also put in place as many cost improvement, cost saving practices as possible. Will you stop with October 2nd? You know damn well your decision will be made November 5th. That is not the case, and I'm really sorry somebody feels like that. We are planning on opening October 5th. I am not kicking a Coke can, a Pepsi. Really, I just ask for people to be respectful here. It's so easy to type comments in without putting your name in, and we make that an opportunity here for our parents so that they feel comfortable. But it's really it's very disappointing. I cannot get an internet company to come to my house because of where I am. How can I get my kids to do live instruction? So whoever wrote this, I would really appreciate it if you could call my office. I really want to give the town of Warson great kudos. Terry Houck and Paul Tezzolino have been instrumental in helping us get Spectrum out to those areas. And if we can do it, we will do it. So I really appreciate that. I would really appreciate it if you can contact my office, 647-0100, and we'll see what we can do. There's a positive comment here about a round of applause and gratitude to our staff. The grace with which this situation has been handled by all employees that I've dealt with should be acknowledged. I've been trying to do that. I think our staff has done a great job. I'm an absolute nasty person, and we do try to keep a pulse on our community. Will the approved capital project continue? Yep, we talked about that earlier. We are in the planning stages. Where do I find the form so I don't have to send my child back to school? There's a link on the district website for K through 6 students. If you can't find it, please contact your child's main office. If a child is sick, should we still contact the front office that day to reflect on attendance? That would be helpful. You can do this via phone, or you can email the teacher. There's a thank you here for my calm composure and respectfully answering questions tonight. I appreciate that. They're thanking our staff and all of us for our hard work in this difficult time. Last year, my wife and I worked long hours. All the teachers were very helpful. Some even called us for phone support. Thank you. Thank you and every one of the staff who's working so hard for our children. These are unprecedented times. We appreciate the support that we receive, and we're listening to all the criticism also. How often will students be made to wash their hands? We are not only going to have encourage students to wash their hands, but we also will have hand sanitizers in the classrooms and throughout the building so that they can use hand sanitizers. The next comment, I want ECSD to know how many people in our community I appreciate all the work we're doing. Don't be discouraged. We're in this together. Much appreciated. Do the students need to arrive earlier than normally scheduled time in order to have their temperature checked? We're getting a process in place. There's no need to come here earlier. And if anything changes, we'll be back in touch with you. I want to thank you for doing this. I know there are many repeat concerns and not always easy to repeat the same information. I appreciate all you're doing. We want you to know how much we appreciate all that's being done. You kept saying stakeholders, then parents. Can you clarify who specifically the stakeholders are? Parents should be the largest stakeholders. So stakeholders, our largest stakeholders are our students. Our parents are also large stakeholders. We have community-based organizations. We have local government. We have the staff. We have teachers. We have, community members. We're a community. And I will say this, with some of the venom that I've seen here tonight and also some of the support, one of the things that I'm most proud of here is how this community comes together when there are significant issues. And from my perspective, and I try to keep a very open mind, I've seen so many people come together and help each other, help our families, provide meals, make donations. And I am so appreciative of all of that and for all the positive work that goes in this community. And, we're lucky that we're all here. Those are the stakeholders. I think those complaining should be reminded of the cost of additional cleaning supplies, masks, and those dividers to ensure safety of their children, a cost that our budgets had to absorb. My daughter receives OT-PT and counseling. She's supposed to do resource room for math. She's going to second grade. Will all this be remote? Remote learning was hard towards the end of the year. How can I help her? So we are going to provide support to you. As soon as we can start providing some of those services in person, we will. We will definitely make sure. I would really suggest you call the Office of Special Ed or your school's office if you have concerns, and we can provide some additional support. So can a lot of our staff here. The next comment is, as I'm sitting here watching this, I really can't believe how some people are acting. This is absolutely disgusting at this point. Thank you for taking the time and doing the best we can. Lisa, you and the district are doing the best in the worst of times. It's embarrassing to hear some of these attacks. I really went back and forth as to whether or not we should read them. So I surely didn't want to be accused of not reading them. So we are summarizing some of them that are repeating. Should we as parents send our kids with their own hand sanitizer? Also, should we send refills in for teachers as part of our school supplies? I think that the guidance says that you should not send in your own hand sanitizer. We will have plenty of hand sanitizer here. You can send it. I'm hearing that you can send it in, but we will have hand sanitizer here for all of our students. You yourself do not live within the school district, as well as many teachers and other employees. How are you truly representing the most effective spending of our tax dollars and interest within the community when the monies you're using are not your own and you are not affected personally by your own decision? I am affected personally by my own decisions. While I don't sleep in Ellenville, I'm here all the time. And a lot of our staff that don't sleep in Ellenville do support the businesses here and care very much about our students. It's not just the community you live in. When I took various, I've read a lot about community, and communities can be the community you live in, the community you work in, the community you go to school in when you're in college. So I think that I personally am very cognizant of that, and I think a lot of our staff is too. Is there a form you can fill out for your child? They are in high school to keep them on remote learning. That form is coming to you in the next week or two, and you'll get a notice. And if you do want your child to stay remote, if they're in high school, I would strongly recommend that you call the high school office, 647-0123. Let them know ahead of time. And when you get the document, you can definitely send it to us. So those are the questions this evening. There were 128 of them. And I really do, I'm directing calls to the offices. Are there actually staff there? There absolutely are staff here. Last week, many staff members were not available to answer questions. So people are here, and if you leave a message on the voicemail, and if you do get a voicemail and you don't want to leave a message, you can contact 647-0100, and we will get back to you as soon as we can, but there are people here, and we will make sure that the answers get, we'll be sure that all of the calls get answered. So I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to present this information this evening. We will be online again tomorrow at 1 o'clock to answer any questions with regard to the remote learning plan. And thank you. And we'll have more information that's posted on our website as things become, as we continue to plan. Thanks so much.